Hey, what's up guys, Benny here and welcome to another Call of Duty Warzone video. You'll have probably noticed a big patch happened to the game which has made a whole host of changes, from bringing in a new mode for plunder called Blood Money, a brand new operator, Talon, but that's not what we're going to focus on in this video, as you've probably seen the patch notes. What we're going to focus on in this video is all about the secret and important additions that this patch has added to the game, which Activision just simply hasn't told you and you need to know about. So the first secret change to Call of Duty Warzone is the money that you earn from contracts when you're dead. Before, one of the best tactics to get your entire team fully geared back up if only one of you was alive was to go and complete a scavenger contract. This would usually net you enough money to be able to buy one of your teammates back, and then they would have enough cash to buy your other teammates, who would also then have some more cash from the contract completion and could potentially help you buy a loadout crate. Sadly, that is no longer the case. You must be alive in order to get the money from completing a contract. But one thing to be aware of still though is that it currently still counts if you're still alive in the gulag waiting for your 1v1. But if you're dead and need to be brought back from the buy station, you won't get that cash from completing the contract. Personally, I'm kind of gutted about this change, as it was my go-to tactic, as it did give you a better chance of coming back from a bad position at endgame. But just try to make sure to have as many teammates alive as possible when completing a contract to get the most money as a team. Though the next secret change they made in Warzone without telling us is that you can now find money stacks in scavenger crates. Before, you would only be able to get weapons, armor, ammo, and field orders, but now that money's been added, it still makes it possible to get your loadout drop from completing that first scavenger contract as a team. This is important because you probably saw that loadout drops now cost $8,500, so a little harder to get, but still not super expensive when you properly work as a team and share money. So try to still prioritize completing scavenger contracts right at the start of a match to get the most amount of cash and get your loadouts. The next secret change that was made, which personally I'm not the biggest fan of for several reasons, is that they've changed the UI for the buy station. What they've done is make it now into a single column. Rather than having teammate respawns to the side, they are now at the top of the buy station UI. This was because a lot of new players to the game weren't clearly seeing how to respawn their teammates in, as it wasn't as prominent as armor plates, for example, but has made it a bit more difficult to quickly use the buy station to stock up on equipment that you use the buy station to buy far more often than respawning in your teammates. One of the best strategies was to slide in, buy armor plates, and then slide away again, which you could do almost instantly. Now you have to stay still for a couple of seconds to purchase armor plates, which could lead to you being taken out by a sniper, which is going to be gutting. It's a small change, but an important one. So make sure to share your opinion on the new UI down in the comments below, and also make yourself familiar with it so you can still use it as quickly as you can and not get caught out by a sniper, which is just going to end your Warzone game early, which is the worst feeling in the world. Now, some of the biggest changes that you weren't told about for Call of Duty Warzone actually happened within the settings menu, which you'll probably want to go ahead and take advantage of, as most players just won't. The first secret setting addition was a setting for parachute auto deploy. You'll probably notice that by default this is enabled, which means you never have to worry about your parachute not opening up at the start of a match and you just hitting the ground. However, in order to be the best possible player, you'll want to disable this. You want it disabled in Warzone because having the ability to deploy your parachute as close to the ground as possible is going to make you harder to hit by players shooting at you who get a gun early, but more importantly, you'll be able to pick loot up before anyone else. This will take some trial and error to perfect, but I've already started noticing a significant improvement to the start of my games by just being able to get to the ground that little bit faster and get a gun before anyone else. The next thing that you weren't told about in the latest update to Warzone is that they changed everyone's button layout to bumper ping without actually asking you if you wanted your button layout changed. I'd also love to know how many people got caught out by this and were wondering, why all the buttons had suddenly changed and they could no longer crouch properly or couldn't use their tacticals, but when you play for the first time after the patch, you'll have had your BR button layout settings changed to bumper ping, which, if I'm honest, if you play the default button layout, is an improvement if you're playing Warzone. However, if you play tactical like I do, it's terrible, purely because you don't have crouch on the right stick anymore, which is one of the actions you'll use the most in Warzone or Call of Duty for that matter. The best thing with this new controller setting though is that it's far easier to ping enemies, which when working as a team is a big advantage, and you'll really notice the difference, as having ping on the D-pad is a horrible place to constantly have to press, as your fingers are never really anywhere near it that often. I'd love for them to bring in bumper ping tactical, as it's the layout that I'd definitely use to be able to ping far easier and help my teammates, just like how you do it in Apex Legends, which I still think has one of the best ping systems in any Battle Royale game. But just make sure you go into your settings and make sure that you've got the correct button layout that you're used to using. The next major change is for PC players that use a controller. Now, there's been a lot of debate about the advantages that PC players with a controller gain over Xbox and PS4 players because of the field of view slider, which does give you a big advantage as you can see much more of your surroundings. And this latest patch has widened that divide even further by bringing a scale aim assist with field of view option in your settings. What this means is that before, when it was disabled, your aim assist region didn't scale according to your field of view, which made you have to be a lot more accurate in order to snap onto your opponents and pick up those kills, which meant there was a negative of using a wider field of view setting, as it made your sweet spot far smaller on your screen. However, with this new scale aim assist with field of view setting, it will now rescale your aim assist region according to your field of view, meaning you'll not only be able to see far more of what's going on around you, but you'll also be able to take full advantage of that aim assist that you have as a controller player, which is unbelievable. Now, I'm going to do a more detailed video soon on Call of Duty Warzone PC versus console with a controller, but I'd love to hear your opinion on the matter, as I'd love for Activision to give everyone the ability to scale their field of view in Warzone and have access to the same settings, just to help level the playing field between controller players that little bit more, just like how they do it in Apex Legends. Now, pre-update, you may have found yourself being one-shot killed at close range with shotguns, even if you had full armor, which had you questioning what the hell just happened. And it was a little bit overpowered, especially in the final circle when you were fighting inside of buildings. However, with this update, they've received a nerf and will no longer be able to one-shot kill an opponent with full armor unless you have stopping power rounds equipped. So if you find a stopping power round field order and one of your teammates love running a shotgun, make sure they're the ones that get that field order. It will definitely help in those close range encounters and win you games in the final circles. Another important thing to be aware of involving buy stations is that when they're in the gas, they will now eventually close, because some players were hoarding a load of cash and hiding by buy stations, and they would just keep on buying gas masks, which means they wouldn't die, which is what's probably happened to you in the past if you've been at the final circle and just can't find your opponent. Though do remember, it does take a little bit of time to shut the buy station down, so pay attention to nearby buy stations of the final circle, just in case someone still tries to pull this off. It can be one of the worst ways to lose a game of Warzone. We also need to touch on the new weapons that have been added into the game. Currently, the only weapons you can find in Warzone of the new guns are the base variants. There are currently not any rare, epic, or legendary equivalents from what I've found playing so far. So the 4 new guns added are the 7.25 shotgun, the MK2 carbine, the EBR marksman, and the Desert Eagle. Now, if I'm being completely honest, they're all pretty weak weapons compared to the MP7 and M4A1 variants that you'll find on the map. I'd have preferred to have seen them maybe add some base snipers like the HDR to help counter full teams that get their loadouts early, but I'm sure more guns will be added as time goes on. Then the last change I want to talk about in today's video is to do with the gas mask. One of the most frustrating ways to die in Warzone was when you were trying to escape the gas and you wouldn't be able to pull your parachute because your character was just in the process of putting on your gas mask. That has now changed and you'll always deploy your chute, but a lot of players have been complaining about the animation of putting on your gas mask and taking it off as you move in and out of the gas. Personally, I think it's nice to have a level of punishment for coming out of the zone and not getting an advantage on players that are already within the circle, but I'm glad they fixed the bug. Do make sure to let me know what you think about that down in the comments. But there we have it, 10 updates that you weren't completely told about in Call of Duty Warzone. Do make sure to share anything else you find down in the comments below. Personally, I think they've made some great changes which were able to be abused beforehand. And if you're new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe and smash that like button, as it really does help the video. And I'll see you next time. Bye.